So sitting down and studying for long periods of time might sound like the only way to learn, as it's how we're taught in school. However, this isn't the best way to learn, and so in today's video, I'm going to give you my top 5 tips that you can use to study smarter, not harder, and stay efficient and effective when you're learning. Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Alex. I'm a surgeon and the founder of a few edtech companies, and on this channel, we focus on learning and human performance to help you live healthier, wealthier, happier, and more productive lives. Now, when I was studying for my medical exams, I put in long study sessions in order to cover the huge amount of material required for the medical syllabus. Like many students, I was guilty of just reading lecture materials or books, getting distracted, and just not really studying effectively, despite spending long periods of time in the library. When I then needed to do postgraduate surgical exams around my day job as a surgeon, I had to be more focused, and so in today's video, I'm going to give you my top 5 study tips to help you get the most out of your study sessions that I wished I knew when I was studying my first year of medical exams, and which you can apply to anything that you're studying right now. I'm even going to give you a bonus 6th tip at the end of the video, so be sure to stick around and do hit subscribe if you haven't already done so to get the latest learning tips direct to your brain every Sunday. So tip number 1 is to plan what you're going to study. This means planning your entire study schedule over a period of months, but also planning what you're going to study the following day. Now, I've gone into detail on other videos about how to create an effective study plan and exam revision timetable. So I'm going to focus on ensuring that you plan out your daily study schedule the night before in a diary or in your calendar. This schedule should include getting sufficient sleep and factor in breaks, proper nutrition and exercise, and should help you to focus on what needs doing. This way, when you wake up the following morning, you know exactly what you need to do and where to start, while also being mindful of your health and ensuring that you have time to relax. We know that memories are consolidated when we sleep, and that being alert and healthy means you're more likely to retain what you're studying. So don't burn yourself out, and plan breaks, and get enough sleep and food to ensure your success. Tip 2 follows on from planning out your studying, and is all about breaking down your study sessions into bite-sized chunks.
Break it down for me.
This helps you to avoid distraction and burnout, and as you study, you'll be able to focus for longer and longer periods of time. For example, by the end of med school, I could easily do about 6 hours of focused study time and still be productive, as my concentration span had been built up like a muscle from lots and lots of study sessions over the years. Whereas when I was starting out, I'd usually limit myself to around about 25 minutes of study sessions, as I knew I became less productive and my ability to study became much less effective. Now, I've covered this concept in my video on the Pomodoro technique, which is all about using a timer to do 25-minute periods of study, followed by a short 5-minute break. Again, this is about taking care of yourself and ensuring that the time you do spend studying is spent learning rather than getting distracted or losing your focus to keep you efficient. Tip number 3 is to study the things you're weakest at first. We naturally want to avoid topics we perceive as hard, and this leads to putting them off and just learning about things that we enjoy, as we already have some knowledge of them. Most of the time, we find things hard as we simply haven't understood them correctly, or they're newer, higher-level concepts that require more of our concentration and brain power, and so we find them a bit uncomfortable. By tackling the topics you find difficult first, you'll have more time to work on them and get better at understanding them. Getting through the toughest topic first also helps to avoid procrastination, as once these have been mastered, you'll just have the easier topics to cover, which you can then do quickly. It's also worth looking at the commonly tested or high-yield topics and prioritizing these, since they're likely to come up at your exam or test. It might sound obvious, but rather than simply going from A to Z through your lectures or study materials, focusing on the hardest topics and the topics that are most high yield will get you the best results with the least amount of stress and make you as efficient as possible. Now, do you have a true study room or area? Most students study in bedrooms, kitchens or dining tables or common areas. So tip 4 is to create a dedicated study zone for yourself. This is usually a desk in your home or a regular space in a library or quiet space you can work at. To build a habit around your studying and to avoid procrastination, try and make sure your desk and study area is tidy and has your study materials laid out the night before. This means that you can go straight to your desk and get to work without any distractions. If you study in your bedroom, try not to study in bed, as your bed is for sleeping and you're conditioned to be less than alert when in bed. And conversely, if you do study in bed, it will likely impact your quality of sleep. When studying, you might also want to try mindfulness or lo-fi music, to help get you in the zone, with evidence showing that low tempo or classical music can help reduce distractions and aid focus. I have my desk set up every time I work or study, and it helps me to get down to business straight away. Tip 5 should come as no surprise and is all about testing yourself as you study and using evidence-based study methods like active recall. The more active you are in your learning, the more effective you'll be. Remember, studying is not reading things over and over again or just rote memorization. Studying is about understanding a topic by testing your knowledge of the concepts and practicing what you're learning such that you can actually apply that knowledge. If you're struggling with this, try asking yourself right now, what am I actually learning? Or for specific concepts like those from my medical degree, what does this bone in the body actually do? If you rote memorize facts and don't come back to them, these can fade with time. But if you can understand a concept and link it to existing knowledge and then put it into your own words, you'll remember things much more effectively and for longer. To help with this, try again asking yourself, what is the meaning of this concept? Something is meaningful if it relates to something you already know or understand. Your brain is like a file system or a database. New entries are easier to find if they have data that links them to entries that already exist. I have a great video on how Richard Feynman remembered things by putting concepts into his own words and simple terms such that the child could understand them. Equally, active recall is not just used when revising for an exam, but can be applied when taking notes in class. Instead of just highlighting things or writing down notes, try creating questions all covering the lecture materials and trying to recall the concepts to actively test yourself as you study. You can then expand on these active notes and read around topics to deepen your understanding and link new concepts to those that you already know. Overall, test yourself at every stage of studying, as active recall is the best way to study smarter. Now finally, as a sixth and bonus tip, and following on from using evidence-based methods like active recall, one of the best ways to study is to summarize and then teach what you're learning. Teaching others reinforces learning and is a true test of whether you understand the material. By summarizing or explaining things to others, you're actively recalling information and seeing whether you can easily explain things, which will reveal gaps in your knowledge, which can then be consolidated. If you don't have anyone to teach, a great way to share information is to record a video, podcast, or to write a blog which you can share with others, just like Austin Kleon says in his book, Show Your Work. Now, if you enjoyed this video, we've added in some links to other videos you might find useful. And if you have any study tips or suggestions for future topics you'd like to see covered, do let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, thanks so much for being a subscriber, and I'll catch you again in the next video.